Welcome aboard the Spirits Operator podcast. I'm your host, psychic medium Mary B. Join me as we navigate the ethereal currents between the mystical and the mundane. Get ready to explore the unseen forces shaping our world and discover how to harness their power for personal growth, healing, and transformation. I'm thrilled to kick off Season 3 of the Spirits Operator podcast, titled Whispers of the Unseen, with our first guest today being Dean, a seasoned paranormal explorer with nearly 30 years of experience. And he'll guide us through his incredible journey navigating the unseen realms. A devoted spouse and parent of 5, Dean balances a dynamic life as a self-employed adventurer who's always had a soft spot for the mysteries of the fourth dimension. From the eerie halls of the Missouri State Penitentiary, renowned for its sheer size and intense paranormal activity, to the haunted grounds of Waverly Hills and the historic streets of St. Augustine, Dean has journeyed through some of the most intriguing and spirited locations. Hello, Dean. Thanks for joining us today on the podcast.
Well, hello, Mary. Glad you allowed me to come on.
Yeah, I have a ton of questions for you. So you ready for that?
I am. Fire away.
All right. So the first one that I would like to ask you is you've been exploring the unseen, the spirit realm for about 30 years now. And what really drew you into that path?
I would say, like most of my peers, it was something that during my childhood that I experienced things that, my friends never did. And so I got a feeling that planted the seed. But later on in life, as life started settling down, married with kids, it seemed like that the knocking on the walls, the footsteps and stuff like that were just so intriguing for me that I couldn't let it go. It was like knocking on the door and wanting me to get involved.
That makes sense.
Totally went that direction, and I'm having a blast. So
awesome. Now, I think it's, if you're seeing these things, if you're experiencing these things and others aren't, it even makes it more intriguing, don't you think?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. You got it. Yep.
Now, what would you say, do you remember your very first experience with the paranormal and how that went?
It's a great question. As your mind gets older and you get to be an old man, everything kind of runs together, right? The one instance that I remember when I was young was me and my mom were by ourselves. We had a front porch, and the front porch, my mom would always lock it. And it was had screens on it, and we had got a dusting, and a lot of that snow came in on the front porch. And I remember hearing footsteps out on the front porch that night. And when I went out and turned the light on, I had no idea. There were actually tracks in the snow. And there was, the door was locked. So that was probably the one that really kind of lit a light bulb for me about, the first... pivotal place that, there is something going on, what is that? So,
yeah, the curiosity. Well, what did your mom say? Did you tell her?
Oh yeah. She was freaked, where, it was just me and her at that time. And her main concern was, of course, safety. And it was actually somebody out there. And I had to tell her, Mom, I was 11, and I go, there's no way. That, even though they did get in, how'd they lock the screen on the way out? I mean, they're good but that was kind of me trying to debunk early spiritual stuff. So,
yeah, I always tell people, humans scare me in the flesh more than they do afterwards.
Absolutely. Totally.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I've been on many investigations, and pretty much all the peers that I know and run with, we've never really had, I've never been scratched or bitten, or I have. I did think maybe I got pushed in my last not pushed, but bit on the back, or pinched. Excuse me, pinched. And but I think they were just trying to get my attention, just because I wasn't paying attention to them, and they wanted to make sure they knew that they were there, that I knew it. So,
Yeah.
but
How
so
interesting.
yeah,
Some experiences, I don't know, people experience so many different things, it seems, but with as much experience you've had, that's kind of surprising. So I think that's one of our misconceptions that we can kind of talk about a little bit, maybe.
sure.
Um, yeah, so, well, before we get into that, though, I know you just went on an investigation. You told me that before we came on here.
Hmm.
And what did you find when you went there? How do you prepare for that anyway? Like,
It's a
you know
great
what I'm
question.
saying?
Oh, absolutely. Well, depending on the locations, a lot of times we'll maximize our club or our attendance, depending on the size of the facility. This
Mm-hmm.
was rather a smaller, 3 level, what I call a mini mansion. Uh, and So it didn't take the personnel like it normally did. We prep things like I start meditating a good 4 to 5 days before I go.
Mm.
I want to talk to the spirits. If I can contact any of them at an earlier time, let me know. And then so I do that every day on a daily basis before my hunt. And then when we actually get there, um, we do a prayer, uh, and we ask for protection and for guidance and wisdom, and to realize that these spirits were people too,
Yeah.
and are. They're just in a different dimension, and if we can help them, or whatever we can do to make it easier for them to discuss, things. Um, and then when we get done, we usually do the same type of prayers to make sure that we don't have what we call Klingons on us, or anybody wanting to, you know, take a ride home, which has
Right.
happened before. Uh, we see, I know, to go into this story a little bit, we did a hunt, thought we did everything right. I got back to the house, was kind of resting that night. All of a sudden, we had a influx of more shadow people showing up around the house. And my
Mm.
wife was quick to call out, "Did you just see that going down the steps?" And I go, "Yes, I must have brought one home with me." So we had we had to go about, working with moving him on. So,
Yes.
but that does so that's kind of like some of the stuff we do. I do a lot of meditating,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of preemptive work with the souls and the spirits that are there, to try to get them to know and feel free and feel comfortable when we do get there, that we're
That
not there
makes
to hurt
perfect
them. So,
sense. And that's
uh,
probably why you haven't experienced all of the aggression that other people may experience.
yeah,
So
that's
it's not
very good.
necessarily a debunking, but more the fact that you're more respectful to them than, say, people that are screaming at them or taunting them.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because I
I
wouldn't
care
want
for them
that.
deeply. I care for them deeply. I really do. So,
So let
um,
me ask you this. You have a spirit who, might be a Klingon or whatever. And you talk to them. I'm curious how you do this because I know how I do it, but I'm curious, how do you help them cross over? What is your procedure to do that?
well, I just, yeah, that's a great question. I really don't go into the stuff like I'm sure like somebody like yourself does. I'm more um, matter of fact. Um, I will actually ask them, what they desire here. What are they
Mm-hmm.
wanting at this location? Are you seeking the next to go to the light, to
Mm-hmm.
move on, move forward with your soul, or do you feel trapped? These are some of the questions I like to find out, and then then basically, just trying to get them to answer me and talk to me. Uh, and if they don't answer and they don't talk, then I start getting a little bit more bullish. I start telling them that, I'm just going to have to ask you to leave, or that. But normally, I just, I am don't ever want to profess myself right now as somebody that really aids in the crossing over.
Yeah, understood.
I would probably say that I'm a better um, yeoman to just making them leave my home.
Yeah.
Uh, but basically, the one, that experience was very minimal, so
Hmm.
to speak, and created no issues other than just seeing them. And they were very, very friendly. And honestly, I think, yeah, I don't do the sage. I don't
Hmm.
do any of that. Of that stuff. Never really had to feel a need to do that, believe it or not.
Yeah.
But but that's basically what I do.
Okay.
I just
It's pretty
ask,
close to what I do.
to move them forward, and whatever I can do to help them, if there's something,
Yes.
So I tell them, I say,
Yes.
if you see something there that is inviting and warm and just love, then go there. What are you
Yes.
doing here, other than maybe having something undone, that's not finished?
Yeah.
But
No, that's a great procedure. And I think for everybody out there, it is that simple.
mhm.
It doesn't have to be complicated. You can express that to them and tell them. So if you do have somebody lingering around, and that for a fact, you can tell them that, and
Yeah,
you know tell them bring in the light. Ask their loved ones to come in and just be comfortable, the ones that have crossed, and then that kind of pulls them out. So yeah, but I'm a lot like you. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
right. Yeah. Uh,
That's what I always tell them.
unless you're willing to pay some rent here, it's
And
not
do the
cheap anymore.
dishes.
Come on.
Right? If you can spook around, you can clean a floor.
And to run up down the steps. I mean, come on, scare my cat to death.
Oh my gosh, I know, right? Cats are good for that. Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
she goes berserk. But yeah, we usually have to tell her that I'm going on a hunt, and then Lola the Wonder Cat is her name, and we usually tell her that we're going on a hunt, and when we return, if you see anything, let us, sure you tell us, which she
Yep.
will. And it's only
She's a good
been one
kitty.
time. Yeah, she is. She's amazing.
I love how cats do that. And people underestimate our pets,
Oh,
and their ability to connect and see. And they'll tell you if you're seeing something a little different with your animals and there's no medical reason, then maybe you just put your authority out there. You never know, right?
absolutely,
All
absolutely.
right.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things I wanted to ask you, there was a place or a few places that you visited, and
Mm-hmm.
you mentioned those, and that was the Missouri State Penitentiary,
Mm-hmm.
Waverly Hills, and St. Augustine.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not familiar with any of these other than St. Augustine being a location, but what stands out the most to you from those locations?
That's a great question. Thank you for asking that. Um, Waverly Hills, the death tunnel, was
Mm,
probably one of the most, and if that, just the whole idea of that having the souls that go up and down that tunnel every day there from death, from, the diseases and all the things that they tried to cure there.
was it a medical hospital
Yeah,
or
yeah. It's
okay?
it is was it's sanatorium, the whole bit.
Oh wow.
It's got lobotomy stuff. It's pretty. People that were there suffered,
Mm,
unfortunately, and so you have a lot of negative energy. And when I
yeah.
was looking down that tunnel, you know, you could sense it, you could feel it. It was just so heavy and dark. And couple of my crew guys said, "Well, I'm going to go ahead and go on down." I said, "I'll stay back here because I know once I get in there, I'm going to be sick,"
Mm-hmm.
which I did. And one of my crew guys did get sick
Wow.
just from the overwhelming negative vibes that goes there. That was a pretty intense investigation. Um, I had a lot of fun at the St. Augustine Lighthouse,
Oh,
and the officers' quarters there. That was a little tamer than Waverly,
okay.
and also a little tamer than the Missouri State Pen. When you get into those situations, you kind of know automatically that those are going to be some of the, I don't really want to call it dividends, but that's some of the things that's going to be paying off. You're going to get some pretty wild things in those places.
Yeah.
In the Missouri State Pen, what was really something that you usually don't have happen. We found a shadow figure on the fourth floor in the cell block, the women's cell block, and we were able to actually run it. We were push it a little bit. We were able to force it to go down the steps, which I'm like going, wow,
Whoa.
that is unusual. They can do anything they want to, basically they can just go right through the wall if they wanted to do that. But they actually went down the steps. And then we got a hold of the other group that was in the same cell block. They were down below, and they confirmed sighting and of the same shadow figure in that same area.
How interesting.
That was. So we were able to chase it a little bit to actually get to watch it, and that's an unusual, different aspect. That usually you just catch them out of the corner of your eye, you get a quick picture, catch them looking around a wall, but you don't really get them running away and down the steps, and then dissipating right down on the first floor. So Missouri
Yeah.
Pen was fun though. The Queen Mary.
Oh,
That
I've
was
been on that.
yeah. The swimming pool area. We had a lot of activity right there.
Oh, you investigated it. Oh,
Oh yeah,
cool.
yeah. And the Stanley Hotel.
Oh, yeah.
That was a lot of fun too. We did the one of the places that we just got back from. We went to Scotland last year and did Edinburgh, and we did a
Ooh.
couple castles, and we did the catacombs under Edinburgh.
Oh, my.
They have where the underprivileged people would live down underneath the cities, and boy, you talking about just a heavy feeling down there.
Old heaviness.
Yeah, really, really sad for the souls that are there. You really want to go in there and, do some cleansing work. But a lot of times, the owners of some of these, which is sad, really get upset if you try to move them forward.
Send them home. I know.
Yeah.
I had thought about that actually, going in, how that would go about. You go in and you've got a few ghosts in there, and then you send them home, and then the whole place is silent. No more ghost activity. And of course, that's their moneymaker, right?
Yeah.
So I can see how it's such a weird dynamic, right?
I run into that more than you know.
Really?
Oh yeah, because we're being in the Midwest here, where we're located. We do a lot of farmhouses, semi mansions, places like like the Conjuring House, just little ranch homes. And these people, this is their living. The Sally House is not a very big house, and you go sending the spirits home there. Those they're now. Having said that, I'm a firm believer that spirits can do whatever they want to do. They can. I'm going to go over here now. I want to go to this one. So
they do enjoy being there. I've,
Yeah.
in communicating with some of the spirits that in one of my old places I worked, there was a few guys that were there, and one of them was like, I don't want to leave. I enjoy doing this. Like, I have a good time poking at people and dropping stuff off walls, and I'm like, okay, that says a lot about you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, were you a lawyer in your first life? No, I was just having
Right? Were you bored? I mean, what is this? You want to spend your eternity just poking at people. But you know what? I can see the whole thing, and I'm with you. They are given many opportunities to leave. It's not like
Yeah.
they're trapped here. And that's the one thing I think people misunderstand, is that ghosts are trapped,
Yeah.
and they're not. you know.
Yeah.
So what are
It,
you gonna do?
exactly. What are you going to do? And, one of the things that I keep coming, that I really want to say, is I enjoy ghost hunting. I'm actually I'm a Christian. I'm a Methodist, and I enjoy ghost hunting because it helps my faith. It helps me understand that, I'm from Missouri, so you had to show me, So this is a way the spirit world shows me that there's something else. There's something unseen that
Mm-hmm.
is real, and it is there.
That's a
Um,
good way to put it.
it is
Yeah,
there. So,
it
but that's
helps you
kind of,
with it, for
yeah,
sure.
it does. Yeah. Uh, now whichever way I choose after that, that's me. So, but it's just really it's a satisfying part of the job. So,
Absolutely. Well,
so
now you've gone on so many different. I mean, you're just listing off all these places, and it's so interesting to me, because half of them I'm like, I don't know anything about that. I, I've not been a big ghost investigator myself, although I'm now being drug along a bit by my friends, which I
good.
love hanging out with my friends, as you've met them, or you've met one of
Right.
them. Anyway, but what I want to ask you, because I know you've been all these different places, anywhere in the world here, what is your favorite place?
That's a great question. You know, I was just sitting there, I had wrote down a lot of places down. It, I've been overseas, done those. You know, I, there's some places that are still on my bucket list. You know,
Yes.
but honestly, so far, I think I mentioned that I was sitting there trying to think of, the birdcage in Tombstone, Arizona. That was a fun one. But probably, I would say the McIntyre Villa in
Where's that?
Atchison, Kansas. In Atchison, Kansas.
Okay.
Um, it's a it was built by a gentleman named John McIntyre back in the mid 1800s. He supplied saddlery for the was it Wells Fargo that would run through
Mm.
northern Kansas. He would provide for them, and he was also a doctor. Uh, and of course, he did a few things there that was kind of shady.
Mm.
But the reason why I like the McIntyre, it's pretty easily laid out. I feel comfortable there. The spirits kind of know us now. We've been going there enough.
Oh,
We actually take newbies there, new people that want to see if this is for them.
sure.
We take them there and show them the ropes, and it's a perfect place because the spirits knowing us feel really comfortable with us, so they'll show they'll come out and chat or whatever they do. At that time, they'll come over the spirit box or the geoport or whatever we were using at the time, and they'll actually say our names occasionally. They'll say hi, Dean, or something like that, which is pretty outstanding.
No
But
kidding.
with that kind of relationship, believe it or not, it's easier to take newbies in there,
Makes sense.
and that way they can feel comfortable. You definitely don't want to take them to Waverly Hills for the first one, or
They'll
Missouri State Penn, or
freak
somewhere
out.
like that. Yeah, and so you take them here so they kind of start getting the lay of the land. Teach them not to wear cologne, perfume, the basics. Uh, wear dark, because you kind of blend in with the dark when you're doing your investigating. And if you wear perfume, the reason why you don't wear perfume or cologne, you know this, right?
No,
It,
tell me
that
more.
way, well, a lot of times spirits will get close to you and have their own scent.
Mm.
We have a spirit at McIntyre named Goldie, and her perfume is like the girls laugh at it all the time. I don't ever know the name of it. It's like some old Avon,
Okay.
smell.
Okay.
But that's what she wore, and
Uh-huh.
you don't want one of the other people in your group wearing perfume. So sometimes you have to
That
end up
makes perfect
smelling
sense.
everybody, just because okay, we just got Goldie, and then we're smelling everybody, like. But see, these are the things you teach
Yeah.
your people that are wanting to get into this, to enjoy it, recreational, that kind of thing. So it's just one of those kind of places that everybody feels good about. You have fun. So,
I like that. Now, did you research ahead of time, like the names and things like that? Uh, or do you do
well,
that?
yeah, we have actually a couple of the girls in the group are historians.
Mm.
They will actually do a lot of preliminary work also. Uh, like when we went to the Bramley Castle, they went to the city's archives and studied more up on that. We'll go to the cemetery if there's somebody that's passed, that like John McIntyre. We'll go out and visit his cemetery site before we go, just to touch base and again be respectful,
Yeah.
and just we do research. We don't go in there, and we also a lot of times the owners of these facilities, they know us. We've been around long enough that at the get go, at the start, they would used to go over this program or their little their little skit. This place was on, it was 30 years. This is what it was. It became a girls' place or whatever. So you learn
Right.
all that, and now we don't even get that on a lot of them. Hey, you
They're
know the
like, you
drill.
know the drill.
Yeah,
You know where you're going.
but as time goes by, you pick up a little bit more, and you get to know all the players
Yeah, that's
in
true.
the program. So after a while, you begin to ask for them when you're in there. So a lot of times they'll answer. So,
Makes
but
perfect sense. We went somewhere the other night, and it was just three of us, and I'm hearing them in my head, and I'm hearing answers, and then I'm hearing different answers on the box, which is the weirdest thing. And I'm like, how many people are here talking to me? Or
oh,
talking at the same time, and I got a lot of information from myself, and then they were making me second guess the information. So there was all that trickery going on, which I
oh
think
yeah,
is
oh yeah.
hilarious. Typical human activity, right? Messing with you.
Oh yeah, they those tricksters are something else. They'll definitely play with you
Uh-huh.
on that. And the last thing about McIntyre, it's a perfect place so you can actually understand what footsteps are all about in a haunted
Oh,
location. The
okay.
second floor is very busy, and I think so you'll get them running up and back and forth on the wood floor when you're
Wow.
downstairs,
That's
and
so cool.
it is. It really is pretty cool. And nobody's up there. Everybody's down in the kitchen or in the doing our break or whatever. And we try to do that for a reason. We make sure everybody comes back down at one time, and we do a head count. And that
Yeah.
way, if you hear something upstairs, some banging or whatever, because they're ready for us to come back, it. Then you know what you're dealing with. So
Absolutely. Now, do these people, like at the McIntyre house, am I saying that right? McIntyre?
yes, perfect.
Okay. All right. At the McIntyre house, the people who own it, do you pay to go in typically, or do you tell people that you're setting this up? How does that work? Because there's all
Well,
these places, you know what I mean?
I know it's a big deal to a lot of people to buy a haunted place.
Mm,
The gentleman McIntyre, the Bramley Castle, which we visited last weekend. These are just people like you and me that own these, and they're a revenue stream for them. Um,
okay.
and so they do make a living off of those. So clubs like ours, which are just recreational, we're I don't like to ever say we're professional. But I don't think we're rookies either. We know what we're doing.
Yeah.
We just, you know, if I, so we pay,
Yeah.
but we have dues that the club pays. Everybody puts money into a till, and and then we once a quarter we go figure where we want to go for the next 3 or 4 hunts.
Yeah, that's a great way to do it.
But that's how it works. Now, your big time shows that you see on TV, YouTube, a lot of those, these McIntyres, Bramley Castles, pay them to come
For advertisement.
for advertisement.
Makes perfect sense.
I know the Ghost Brothers were just at the McIntyre. A couple of the ghost hunters that I know personally go to the McIntyre a lot. And I'm glad they do, because that keeps her busy, the owner. And it's a good place for us to go. It's easy for us. It's easy location, and just works perfect for us for training. So,
do you find that most of these locations you're going to, people don't live in them, or is it that they do live there?
I'm sitting here trying to go back and
like the house residence ones, not the castles, obviously.
I know one of the houses we went to, the people lived in the basement, actually, down, it was a ranch, but they lived in the basement, and they say, oh yeah, we'll hear footsteps all the time when there's nobody there. I think most of them are unoccupied.
Okay.
I really, really do. I think the McIntyre, the owner goes up there and spends like 3 or 4 days a week, maybe, but she has to get it ready for the weekends. So she'll go up there and spend some time there, and she's getting videotaped all the time there. It's very, open. It's got all these static cameras all the way around, and she'll post things occasionally, like a door opening behind her or something. They're wanting me to clean this room or something. She after a while, like quit it or whatever. But yeah, I would say the majority of them are unoccupied.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, that makes sense. I lived in a haunted house for a while, and it was not fun. So I can only imagine. Oh my goodness. Now, you mentioned that you have bucket list places. What's on your bucket list, Dean?
Great question. I definitely have always wanted to go to Dracula's castle.
Yeah, no kidding.
After talking with Dustin Pari from Ghost Hunters, they went there when he was doing the Ghost Hunters International. And he really was emphasizing, you got to go do that. You got to go do that. So that's one of them on my highest part of my bucket list. The other one would be the catacombs in France. I would love to go there and see those. I'm trying to think of other places. They're more energy than they are spiritual. But those would be my 2 high ones that I would want to go see. Here in the United States, I really don't have any right now on the high on the bucket list. I was sitting there going down the list of everywhere, I just don't yet,
I gotcha.
So,
well, you've been a lot of places.
Maybe. I haven't been to Trans-Allegheny, and I thought maybe that one might be. That is a Pennsylvania. It's another one of these sanatoriums. So, yeah, it's like Waverly and all those. So,
I don't know that I would want to go in any of those. My friends would have to pay me to go.
Knowing your abilities, you would probably go kind of wacko right at the beginning, because they would be all talking to you very rapidly. So,
and when they do, it's so loud, you get all these people chitter-chattering because it's all telepathic at once, and you're like, oh, when people talk about empaths, and we talk about like being in a group of people in a crowd at the state fair, okay, and an empath is in the middle of that, they get kind of overwhelmed. Well, imagine that, but you can't see them. That's kind of like what it's like.
I definitely understand that. I got yelled at in our investigation. I did a shaman health chant over the
Okay.
cemetery, and I did this little chant. And when I got done, I told them that was for your benefit, da 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 da. So I went back and listened to my recorder, and right when I got done, all I had was this yell, real loud yell, right back at
Wow.
me. He didn't want to hear that. That's not what he wanted to hear.
He's like, no, I don't want to hear that.
It was a healing. I was trying to help them out a little, try to
Well, I
get
don't
them
want
to.
to be helped.
I don't want to be healed. I
Typical
like this.
humans, I swear.
I like the cemetery out here. It's very picturesque.
It's just, I'm used to it. I'm in my zone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Talking about an empath.
No kidding. No kidding.
Oh,
Now,
so.
new people. So
Mm-hmm,
you mentioned that you take new people to
mm-hmm.
that one location. Now, what
McIntyre.
if McIntyre? Thank you. What advice would you give to someone who's just exploring their own, starting up their own thing, starting their journey?
Yeah.
Maybe they're not going to McIntyre, obviously, but what advice can you give them?
Well, be excited, have fun. I've been doing this a long time, and it still gives me, a nice adrenaline rush.
Mm-hmm.
I get excited and can't sleep, because you're doing this all the way around the clock. But just have fun and listen to people that know what they're, hook up with somebody else that knows how to do it. I was in Florida last winter, and I would look up Florida haunted clubs
Mm-hmm.
to just reach out to these people, and ask them if they're willing to take on a new person. A lot of them would be love more people, and I had a conversation with hooking up with a couple of those last fall. They allowed me to come on some of their places,
That's fun.
thus the Augustine,
Okay.
and Dora, Mount Dora, that place there is in Florida.
Okay.
So Mount Dora Lake is right in the middle, just north of or just east of the villages. And I went over there. That was a fun investigation. But have fun. Don't take anything seriously. Listen, and if you hook up with somebody, there's you can go online and get your basic ghost hunter stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I I start out with a piece of paper and a pencil, and pendulum and dowsing rods, and now we have EMFs, EVP, and I still use the Panasonic 60 little digital voice recorder.
Oh, okay.
It's from 1999. Now they're expensive if you go online and try to buy one, but I was able to get it pretty reasonable. But you don't need to spend a lot of money doing
Right.
this. You can go in there and get your apps off the phone and just have fun. Don't take yourself too seriously here. And you know what? You get that little bit of scare. That's a lot of fun. That should give you the adrenaline rush and the endorphins. Hey, I want to do this again. That was fun. And once you get evidence, oh my gosh, look out. You're a
Yes.
seasoned ghost hunter.
Oh, is that what I am now?
That's all you are.
Ghost hunter. Perfect. I'm going to put that on my title.
There you go. But yeah. And you're just starting, and you already know. I know. Come on. I can't see you not having anything else but fun doing these. You would be a hoot to go with. Yeah.
I'm ridiculous, with these things because I'm talking to them and then I've got other people talking to them and I'm hearing something and saying what they're saying, but while something else is going off, it's a hoot. I mean, at some point I have to be quiet. I'm like, yeah, his name is John. He doesn't really like it here. He says that, like on and on and on and on and on.
Yeah.
And he starts talking about the walls and whatever.
Yeah. Oh, I definitely understand. I totally understand where you're going with that. So, all right.
Yes. Well, now I do have a couple more questions for you. So
Yeah, yeah,
you
sure.
mentioned you have a crew,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
where is this crew located?
The crew is located, let's see, pretty much in the Kansas City area.
Oh, okay.
Everybody has their own lives. We have, I'm trying to, at last count, we had, I believe, nine people in our club.
Oh, okay. Cool.
And we can boost that up with acquaintances of people that are experienced pretty quickly.
Hmm.
We do sometimes sister in with other ghost hunting clubs if we have
Hmm.
big locations. Um, Once you get a spot, because somewhere like Missouri State Penn, it takes usually 6 months to be able to get into them.
Really?
And yeah, you got to be pretty quick at the beginning of the year to
Mm,
get your name in.
gotcha.
And then when you get that, then you take a roll call. But by the time the 6 months is rolled around, all of a sudden you got Jimmy's playing baseball, and I've
Yeah.
got to go to this baseball game. So, we try to do a minimum and to sign up and make sure everybody's on board, and then we go out and recruit off of other clubs. Works
Okay.
out really well. But you got to remember when you recruit off other clubs, they don't have to pay. So,
Hmm.
but we want to go to these places and do a good investigation.
So
You don't
having the
go to the,
team is
yeah, you got
better.
to fulfill, have death row covered with, you know, the right cameras and the right track strippings and the whole bit, and the just having the people at every location, at every spot.
That makes
Now I
sense.
really went off on a tangent on that one, so
No,
I'm
it's
sorry
great.
on that.
Don't apologize. This is also very interesting. I like to understand, what that dynamic looks like, and you
Yeah,
know.
to finish it off, kind of give you guys an idea. We have two nurses. Um, they are both empaths and mediums too, believe it or
Hmm.
not. And then my daughter's a medium, and she is a social worker. And then we have two teachers, two elementary school teachers, and then me being an engineer and Tom being an engineer in our own fields. We and then so we
Sounds like a
have,
good crew for sure.
yeah, it's just an amazing group, and then we can pull people in. Some of the subs, my two of my daughters love to ghost hunt. They're just really super busy, and
Yeah.
if the time is right, they're going to be there. But
Yeah.
they're always ready to go if we need them. So,
And you
but
do take other new people that want to experience it
oh
to
yeah,
these,
oh yes,
well, obviously very
absolutely,
selectively.
yeah, yeah, and we've ran into some of those, but you got to be selective,
Yeah.
and because you are taking them into places that you know uh, you have signed waivers to go into,
Yeah.
and you don't want somebody going in there that you don't know. Uh, so we like to be able to know who we're taking in. So there will be a meeting with them. Usually
Hmm.
we do it over lunch, just so we want to make sure we don't got somebody in there that's got sticky fingers,
Uh-huh. True. True.
that we don't know, and we're training, and all of a sudden we get
Draw.
a call that there's something missing. Somebody took this out of one of our places, and it has
Gotcha.
happened. It has
Mm.
happened over the years. Kind of sad.
It is
So
sad. Well,
yes, it
that makes
is.
sense that you got to be very, very aware of the humans. Be aware of the humans.
Well, I was going to add to that story is that when the mediums and us went back to where the item became missing, she had a conversation with that spirit, and the spirit told her who did it, and then we told the proprietor, and they admitted they did it. So
Wow.
that was a pretty cool,
They will
you
tell
know,
on you. Don't mess with them.
exactly. You leave the stuff here,
Yes. Yes.
or we'll go home with you.
Ooh. Yes. Please leave the things here. I can't even imagine.
Exactly. Yes.
Telling on them. Oh my goodness. Now, all right. So you have all these video cameras and you're videoing everything. So keeping track of things. Where do you put your findings? Do you share that with anybody?
That's a great question. We have on Facebook. It's called Crypt Crew Paranormal, and that is KYRPT Crew, CREW Paranormal. We post our findings on there. Usually we go there. We keep things for as long as we usually, like this hunt we did here. I just went through all my digital recordings this morning. And got those, and I put them toward the club. Anything that, one of the things, rule of thumb is no matter what club you're from, when you're with one of our sponsored events like this one, your findings are ours too. Yes. So let's say we invited a couple club members from another one. They came over, found some really cool stuff, but those are ours also. That information will go into
they share it with you,
our archives. They can have it. They're more than welcome to do it. We're not trying to be sticklers, but we just want to have it on, have
of course
our stuff online so people will realize that, hey, that looks fun. Let's go do that,
That makes perfect sense to me. Well, you said you went on this trip and you went to it was a castle, the Bramley.
Yeah.
Is that what you said?
Bramley Castle. Right.
Did you find anything? Was there anything interesting that happened?
Well, we did. A couple things. I'll go with the first thing first before I know something we talked about earlier. But the first thing I remember doing is I told you that I felt like I was pinched.
Yes.
Well, my daughter, which I mentioned was like 20, 25 feet away from me underneath the tree, I asked her, I said, is there anybody behind me? Because I sensed it before they pinched me. I go, oh, there's somebody behind me. Holly, do you see anybody behind me? Because I was already looking at something in front of me, right? Because we were in a cemetery. These are old Civil War monuments and stuff out there. And we had spirit balls all over. We had, track lighting. We had everything going off. Everything just started going off all at once. And Holly goes, yeah, I see something behind you. And she goes, all I see is from the head down to the knees. That's all I see in like a Civil War slave type outfit.
Oh, wow.
And then right after that, so I go, okay, I got pinched. And that's, I don't usually, it wasn't anything. I said, I introduced myself. Yeah, exactly. Right after I did that, I looked across the cemetery and I saw a pair of feet about 30 yards down, just running right up the hill.
Just the feet?
Now, just the feet.
So that's where his feet went.
That's where his feet were. Well, that was probably him.
He probably went silly. Yeah.
Separated. But that is actually not uncommon for that to be to see.
Really?
Just a lot of times you don't see the whole body, and then you will see just the bottom part. It just, they manifest,
I thought that was just me in my mind's eye. Cause like sometimes I'll only see their head or like their hands or their feet. And I'm like, I don't know why they're not showing me themselves.
Exactly. And we also got a couple photos of hands. We'll get hands. We'll get faces and nothing else. But the other thing was right after that, it started calming down after that moment. Believe it or not, it started kind of, it kind of crescendos into this. You start getting a little bit of activity, and then all of a sudden it just come in a wave, right? You start seeing soldiers or whatever. I happened to look up in the sky. It was nighttime. We had a beautiful not crescent moon. I think it was like 3/4 moon on Saturday night. It was a gorgeous night, no wind. And I looked up and I thought at first they could have been two satellites, but they were going across the sky and they just stopped right above me. And I'm looking up at them, and there's no blinking lights on them, no nothing. They're probably 3/4 of a mile up in the air, and I'm sitting there's two of them, and they're separated enough where you can see that there are two. And at that time, I called my daughter again. I called her. I said, "You got to come over and see this. I got two UAPs above us." And she came over and looked, and it was just, there they were. And one of the things that all the equipment we have, all the digital recorders, we had all the cameras. Everything is, we weren't doing this for sky.
For that,
Yeah,
yes.
you know, we were doing everything for ground, all the, all the monuments and all the graves. We weren't prepared to see two UAPs above us. And once she saw them and acknowledged them, they started slowly just going off to the east. And why I thought, okay, they're not satellites, because generally they would stay lit if they would go to the west because of the sun.
Yeah.
They would actually darken out from the lack of sunlight hitting them that far up, going to the
That
east.
makes sense.
So, well,
you're taking your debunking brain and you're using it
yes,
on that, which I like.
Very practical on that one. But that was totally, again, unseen things, and we just happen to. There are no accidents. What I always think when we're in this business, and I had something was calling me just to look up at that time, because why would I do that? Why would I look up when I'm seeing feet, when I'm seeing
when
soldiers?
There's ghosts all hanging around you?
I know.
Why would you look up?
Exactly. And but yeah, so we saw the two EAPs, and pretty amazing. Anytime you see some of those, I always feel like, I'm not going to even go in there. I always feel like it's old home week, because there's another thing that always has sparked my interest. So
is the sky and the water.
Yes,
Those two things are very intriguing, and I'm with you. That's my heart goes straight to the sky, the stars, and I enjoy the ghost investigations too. But I definitely am like, what's up there? What's up there? So I think we all have the desire just to try new things,
Yes. Well, it's like looking up there's like old home week,
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So funny. Yeah. Well, Dean, thank you so much for being on the podcast today, and I really appreciate it. And I'm going to put the link to your Facebook group for people that want to go look and check out your videos and things like that.
Sure, absolutely.
So thanks for sharing everything.
Oh, well, it was so fun doing this. Appreciate it, Mary. And to everybody out there, happy hunting. All right.
Yes.